Oh, good morning. I hope that you are well. A beautiful Tuesday morning. Lots lined up for you. And you know, I am all excited because Muthoni once again is here with me. It's such a relief, it's such a beauty, and it's so warm when she is around. Yeah, it is like, it is, you know, there's that aspect of relief. It's not to say that I don't really like my job, but I do. But you know, sometimes when you have visitors around,
Green flag.
Please have it down, yeah? When you have visitors around, it's always a joy, and especially visitors that come with goodness. And I guess that's what Muthoni brings to us this morning. Welcome on board. This is Morning Cafe.
Yes, and yes, I am Muthoni Maina. Hey, Alela, today I'm just so delighted because bei ya unga imeshuka.
Mbona unatudanganya? My name is Linda Alela. I am not sure Muthoni, you know, your name sells you. Like,
it sells me.
There's no way you can be Muthoni and then you're excited about Unga Ugali. Ask Alela. You do not know how much I am excited about this. All right, fine.
How excited are you about this?
You know, the moments where you read and read and read, and you know, my parents are calling to say, Umona, you because you see, they will always call you to find out whether it's news, to confirm kama ni ukweli. Mimi niko zile za ya, it is ukweli, but you know, you're not even sure. You really want to get to the shelves. Now confirm.
Totally. Lakini sasa, it's going to last for only 4 weeks.
Forget about that.
So
how realistic is it? Unajua imeslashiwa by approximately a half. And so economists will tell you, well, this really is not sustainable. Whether the government will come to tell you it's only going to be for 4 weeks or not, reality is it is not sustainable unless kuna kagame kalikuwa kanachezwa.
So mina shanga, what the extra 100 bob, what were we, you know, paying for with that extra 100 shillings?
That's the question.
Because it's just too much, and I think as Kenyans we love it. We just love toxicity itself. We as Kenyans, we are in a toxic relationship with our politicians, and we just love to see how red the flag can get, and it's just devastating at times. But I don't know. This is
I don't know, and I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of reaction as to this. First of all, the excitement before we go to anything else, and then now we're going to get into the details, in-depth analysis of this, you know, just getting to understand it's a subsidy for what reasons. Is it a political bait? Is it, you know, what exactly is playing out? And I think that's why now we say we leave it for the experts, those ones that are economists. They're going to unpack this for us, and we get to understand. How I wish they would leave it at that, because in reality that is the approximate, you know, that is now at the point where unasema unga imeshoot up kabisa. Normally, there are instances, you know, there are times when unga 2 kgs was like 50 shillings. And
Back
then to 60
day,
shillings, complain. Life was sweet. And
Life
it's not a long time ago.
Yes.
That's the worst thing about it. And so, this has placed the government at that point where kila mtu anaangalia anasema now, this are some of the things that you look at and you say the government has failed. The fears are that, well, once, again, it shoots up, then you're going to see a revolution. A likelihood
and
of a
every single time we have an electioneering period, there is an Unga revolution. Like, if you just want to win over the hearts of so many Kenyans, just drop the prices of Unga.
Oh, how I wish they would realize that we're not as foolish, or Kenyans are not as foolish.
Yes, and we are at a better place as of now, because people are now asking questions. Where is the extra 100 shillings going to? Why were we paying for that? Like, who was benefiting at that point? And I don't know. I just hope that we'll get the answers to this. All
right. Well, we're looking forward to that. And it's a conversation that does not run away from today's session. And so in a bit, I'll be looping in my guests just to get their feel and their view of this. While we're excited, I don't know whether we hit the shelves or then we're going to buy bundles and bundles. But you also don't want to stock that. Lakini yetu kistock itaribika. Unaona hizi unga zetu, by the way. Watch hata expiry date. Sometimes hata haijafika expiry date, but there's just something about it. Unapata aflatoxin. Those are dangerous. So in as much as you really want to stock so much, inakuwa tricks. Unless now you just share with a neighbor, the one that really does not have. But at this point, the temptation to stock, overstock, is real. And so, welcome on board. This is some of the things that we'll be looking at this morning, and a couple of other matters. Later on, what will you be doing?
We'll be having mental health in marriage. It's a topic that we'll get to dissect later on from 9 a.m. till 10 a.m. And we've got your life purpose coach, Gabriel Nyamo, and Jackie Kagu, who is a mental health advocate. And, you know, you can send us your questions if you're going through something that's a bit challenging in your marriage. Send us your questions, feedback at TV47 Kenya across all social media platforms, with W2047 being our SMS line.
perhaps there's some people who are heartbroken. They're thinking, why is she handling a marriage topic? Is she? I mean, this career of ours, by the way. Okay, well, this career, we need to tell them that, in what it is that we do, it's, we handle everything and anything. Yeah. Whether you're married, whether you're in this space, whether you're not a youth, sometimes you handle stuff to do with the oldies. So those ones who are heartbroken for a moment, please don't be. It's a different conversation altogether, but it's an interesting conversation. All right, so Muthoni, thank you so much for joining me once again. Day 2 of doing this, and we're looking forward to do more. But most importantly, we're looking forward to the day. As Muthoni says, the hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47 KE. The broadcast begins right away with this motivation.
Once upon a time, a young wife named Yonok was at her wit's end. Her husband had always been a tender and loving soul.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
Well, do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling plastics to make pavers.
The brick is stronger, it's cheaper, and it's lighter.
And recycling wastewater in your household.
What happens to my waste from the washroom, the solid waste? All that can break down.
Those are just but a few. Every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. we talk construction.
There's no alpha without an omega. There's no lead without any followers. No man is an island. We need each other. We need this conference.
We say it, we do it, we act it.
Kama una mpenzi wako, kila siku kama nilivyosema, kila siku maishi mapenzi.
We don't toe the line, we set the standard. We don't eat the grass, we lead the pack.
as an alpha male, you're also a leader. Not just women, friends, and family, but to everyone else you've never met before.
We are the beauty, the spice, and the brains. The men's conference, where men become alpha males.
And you can catch us every Wednesday at 10 p.m. This is The Grind. Only those who will risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go. T.S. Eliot.
So I decided, let me just take this up, put the teaching on hold first. Let me try see where this can go.
I mean, the opportunities are a lot.
But is that all you need? Oh wait, there's more. This seems a little too much. Let's slow it down.
You do this is something you do out of passion.
Join me, Violet Njaki, as I navigate through the maze of the increasingly dynamic business environment and quiet down the noises. As I help you flourish in business, every Monday at 7:30 p.m.
It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling plastics to make pavers.
The brick is stronger, it's cheaper, and it's lighter.
And recycling wastewater in your household.
What happens to my waste from the washroom, the solid waste? All that can break down.
Those are just but a few. Every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. we talk construction.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent. I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands. Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the
Kenya. And so this is a historic moment that is on the deputy running mates or the running mates, candidates that we look forward to that. Gachagua alongside Martha Karua, as well as Justina Wamai alongside Ruth Mutua. It will be a nice session, begins today at around 4 p.m. So make sure that you do everything that you do in the course of the day. Go sit down and listen to these individuals and get to understand whether you make your last decision as to who you're going to vote for the presidency. Away from it, there's also so much that has been captured on these papers. Well, this is one of the stories about Gachagua versus Karua. And so in just about 20 days, the 5.8 million vote-rich Mount Kenya region will face a group or reality test as, of course, the first election since the return of multi-party politics in 1992, in which it lacks a front runner on the ballot. When we say that it lacks a front runner, we all understand that many have labeled this one as a two-horse race. And so you look at the key contenders, and yes, while Mwaure hails from the mountain, reality is that they say he really does not enjoy so much of numbers, and therefore, historically speaking, we'll be looking at the deputies of the two front runners, or the two topmost, runners in this race. And so we'll keenly see to it that, we get to understand how Mount Kenya then will cast their vote this time around. But away from it, we also take a look at this interesting moment for the people of Kenya. As earlier mentioned, alongside Muthoni Maina, Ugali is back. I just don't know how much, one can celebrate about this. A story captured on the back page of the Daily Nation. They say the government will, in the next 1 month, provide a subsidy, that is to millers, that will reduce the price of 2 kilos of maize meal from 210 to 100. Then what happens after that? After that month, that 1 month elapses, will the government then go back to its coffers to see to it that they also present a subsidy further, or what plays out? Is it a question of campaign, or what exactly is this? But then again, in all this, Kenyans are excited about that adjustment that has been made. And Sonko, well, it's over, or is it? It's over, or is it? A story that has been captured on page 6, rightly, of course, on the front page of the Daily Nation. IBC bars Mike Sonko movie from vying for any elective post in the country. That is after the Supreme Court found him legally impeached, but the former Nairobi governor vows to fight on. And he says he takes this to the East African courts. And let's get to see whether then he makes any gains as pertaining to the same, perhaps later on, alongside the legal mind that we'll be having on set. We get to unpack that and understand just how much of a lifeline with the East African courts accord him. And those are the key stories as captured on the Daily Nation. Briefly on what the Standard newspaper details this morning, it's the politics of ugali. Prices fall by half. Government will pay millers the amount above, that is the 100 shillings for every 2 kg packet of maize. As you can see right here, that is for the next 28 days to ensure that prices fall from the current 250 shillings. But questions arise on the timing and availability of the money. This is captured on page 4. As I have said, we'll expound that further. Longer wait for gold drugs on after career marathon silver. And we celebrate these ones that really put our name somewhere top on the map. A very, very instrumental moment for the athletes in the country, but generally for the country. Yes, my soft copy does not have that, but all the same, this has been captured on the hard copy. And Kenyans had hoped to break the Ethiopians' dominance in the long race, but in spite of taking early lead, well, Judith Korir could only settle for silver at the tape. A story captured on page 20, but all the same, the fight that they put up is commendable. Kenyans await running mates debate. A story captured on page 7 as well. Right there, as you can see, Europe bears brands of war in Ukraine. That is in the international scene, as well as in the business as well. We have air polluters risk lengthy jail terms. Just why? You can always grab your copy and we get to understand details of the same. So these are the key stories of the Standard newspaper as well as the Daily Nation. Let's briefly look at that which has been prepared by my team, and then we'll delve deep into the conversation in just a bit. Now, as the August polls fast approach, a High Court has ordered the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to allow Reuben Kigame submit his papers, that is for review, ahead of the August 9th election. Kigame, who is eyeing the presidency, has termed the order as a win for all Kenyans.
It was jubilation after a High Court sitting in Nairobi ordered IEBC to review Reuben Kigame's papers, hoping that he will be cleared to vie for presidency in the August 9 general election.
Tunasherehekea ushindi wa vikundi vingi tu, na hivi alasiri ya leo korti ya juu imeamua kwamba IEBC na Wafula Chebukati walikosea kwa kutonijumlisha kwenye orodha ya wagombezi wa kiti cha urais.
Kigame, who is an independent aspirant, termed the win as a victory for special groups and Kenyans at large.
Kwangu ni ushindi wa watu wengi. Maamuzi ya koti pia ni ushindi mkubwa kwa wananchi wa Kenya ambao wamechoka na ule uongozi ambao umekuwepo.
While addressing the media in Eldoret, Kigame said his running mate Irene Ngeno Kamau will not participate in the presidential debate for deputies scheduled for tomorrow, citing time constraints. All eyes are now on IEBC on the clearance of Reuben Kigame to be the 5th participant in the fast approaching general election.
Itakuwa ni makosa makubwa ikiwa IEBC haitaniweka kwenye ballot, kwa sababu inaweza kusababisha tena kurudiwa kwa uchaguzi, na hatutaki kurudiwa kwa uchaguzi.
Developing story that we'll be following up on to keep you up to tabs. Now, employers in the agricultural sector are warning of looming job losses and closure of farms following an acute shortage of fertilizer in the last couple of months. Joanne Kimani with more details.
Flour farmers, who are the most affected by lack of farm inputs and other challenges, are now predicting closure of farms and loss of jobs, a move they say will have direct effect on the country's economy.
We will have some of the industry players closing down. We will have losses, direct losses of jobs, and this is going to be very bad for the economy of this country. As you realize, the flour sector actually employs more than 500,000 directly, and most of these flour farms are in the rural area. So it's really important that we sustain whatever we have, especially in the rural area.
According to Agricultural Employers Association, AEA Vice Chairman Wilson Odio, the sector has currently been undergoing several challenges, particularly the high cost of fertilizers that has adversely affected production.
We have several challenges in this industry at the moment. A major one remains the cost of inputs. Fertilizers. Not only are fertilizers more expensive now than is sustainable, but also even availability is a problem in several respects. Some of our members, especially those that are in the floriculture, also have serious issues because of the effect of this war in Europe regarding markets.
The farmers have also cited neglect by the government, adding that the high cost of cargo freights and the soaring prices of fuel have had negative impact on the sector.
We have less freight capacity at the airport, and not only the availability but also the cost of freight has more than tripled, and this is affecting our ability to freight our produce to the market.
They are now urging the government to ensure peaceful elections for continuity of business, given businesses suffer greatly when there is political instability in the country.
And usually during an election period like this, we are largely affected. And what we want to urge the government is to ensure that there is a peaceful transition during these elections so that there is no disruption in terms of the businesses within the rural setup.
Joan Kimani, TV47.
Now, former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko has filed a contempt suit against IEBC Chairperson Wafula Chebukati as after Mombasa returning officer Swalha Yusuf revoked his clearance certificate, citing Friday's Supreme Court ruling upholding Sonko's impeachment. Sonko says IEBC acted illegally to invalidate his candidature since he is yet to exhaust all avenues of his appeal. The Supreme Court has set the matter for mention, that is Monday next week, while the East Africa Court of Justice has ordered Attorney General Paul Kariuki to respond within 45 days.
Hours after IEBC invalidated his candidature, citing Friday's Supreme Court verdict, former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko has now launched the battle of his life to save his political career under threat, 21 days to the August 9 general election. Sonko, in his submissions, stating Monday's letter by Mombasa returning officer Swalha Yusuf, invalidating his candidature as illegal since he is yet to exhaust all his avenues of appeal, and now wants IEBC to revoke its letter and allow him to contest.
The Supreme Court did not vacate the orders of the three main judges at the High Court in Mombasa that allowed Governor Sonko to be in the ballot. What right now, as we stand here, this is a candidate for the Mombasa gubernatorial seat.
IEBC returning officer Swalha Yusuf had in her letter to Sonko early Monday cited his impeachment, which was upheld by the Supreme Court, while adding that Sonko's appeal at the Supreme Court was the reason why he was allowed to contest in Mombasa.
What does Article 99 free 4 say? That only will Mike Sonko be stopped from being in the ballot if all avenues of appeal have been exhausted. The appeals include review. That IEBC should take that judicial notice that still there is a review in the Supreme Court. There is an appeal in the East African Court of Justice. He cannot be stopped from being in the ballot.
The former governor, who filed a judicial review at the Supreme Court while filing an appeal at the East Africa Court of Justice, has faulted Chief Justice Martha Koome for what he called showing bias in his case. The manner his case was handled in the lower courts, including by Justice Juma Chitembwe, who is being investigated for receiving bribes in Sonko's case. His impeachment process has also been termed by his legal team as flawed.
The speed at which the Supreme Court decided this matter was purely for politics to stop Governor Sonko from being in the ballot.
The Supreme Court has set the case for mention on Monday next week, while the East Africa Court of Justice has ordered Attorney General Paul Kariuki to respond within 45 days, failure to which the case will continue in his absence. Apul Kamau, TV47.
The Ministry of Agriculture will subsidize the price of maize flour produced and sold by millers for 4 weeks. This is according to an internal communication document signed by Agriculture PS Francis Owino. A 2 kg packet of maize flour will now cost 100 shillings instead of 230. The document also states that the ministry will send representatives to the millers' premises and depots to verify proof of maize flour, that is the sales in the market. The story was produced by Andrew Juma and voiced by Sharon Baranga.
After a long time of Kenyans having to dig deeper to afford ugali in both rural and urban centers, they finally have a reason to smile for the next 4 weeks after the government lowered the price of a 2 kg packet of unga from 230 shillings to 100 shillings.
Hiyo ni mambo na politics, hakuna kitu ingine. Juu wali extend more than 30 days, 4 weeks. Kani kushuka, wangesema iendelee. Hawangestaja nini siku. Wangeshukisha vitu zingine kama mafuta, nini chakula. Lakini sasa hatuja sustain.
Lakini tulifaa kujua ilikuwa imepanda kwa sababu ya vita ya Russia
ama nini ilikuwa inaendelea. Isikue imeshuka kwa sababu ya politics, ikuwe ni political. Unaona vitu kama hizo gava inafaa tuambie ni aje tujue the way forward.
In the 4 weeks, the Ministry of Agriculture will pay part of the cost of producing unga so as to cushion Kenyans from the effects of rise in the price of the commodity.
No single agency or government service will be charging anything, on maize, and we are very specific. It's on maize and also animal feed.
As a result of the subsidy, unga will retail as follows. 50 kgs now goes for 2,250 shillings, 10 kgs is now 440 shillings, 5 kgs is 250 shillings, 2 kgs now goes for 100 shillings, 1 kg is 52 shillings, and 50 grams is 30 shillings. The Ministry of Agriculture will further deploy a team to conduct market surveillance and ensure that the commodity is sold at the recommended price.
Yeah, so I'm really appreciative for the government for lowering the price, and it's such a relief for any common mwananchi.
Hata hivyo, nikiongea on the other hand, jaribu angalie vitu zingine serikali. Ukituangalia vitu kama mafuta, kwa sasa mafuta imepanda sana.
On 28th June, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya announced that the government will issue a directive suspending the levies that will lower the price of flour.
No charges will be levied on imported maize that is coming from the East African community and Comesa region and anywhere else that is entering the country.
Deputy President William Ruto has weighed in on the latest move by the government to cushion Kenyans from the high cost of maize flour, stating it was a move to hoodwink Kenyans into supporting his main rival, that is Raila Odinga, in the presidential race. Ruto, together with the Kenya Kwanza team, has dared the government to also lower the prices of other commodities, as Moige William reports.
Hours after Raila Odinga pitched tent in Nairobi County, Monday, Deputy President William Ruto and a section of the Kenya Kwanza formation set camp in the country's capital city. Ruto's entourage visiting Starehe and Kamukonji constituencies. Yet again, criticizing his boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta, with the country's high cost of living taking center stage.
Nimewasikia hawa watu wa kuzimia ati watapunguza gharama ya unga. Sasa mimi nauliza hawa chairman wa Azimio ni president wa sasa. Mtu ya kitendawili, wewe umekuwa serikalini miaka 4 na handshake. Wewe ulikuwa unafanya kazi gani? Wewe ndio umesumbua Uhuru Kenyatta mpaka saa hii unga imefika shilingi 200, alafu unatuambia story gani?
Exuding confidence in a landslide win against his main rival Raila Odinga, whom he termed as a state project, with the national government deploying tactics to endear Raila to the voters.
Sisi hatuna shida na Uhuru Kenyatta. Ni rafiki yangu wa zamani, si mnajua? Lakini maneno ya kutulazimisha kitendawili, hiyo tumekataa hiyo sisi.
Hawa majamaa wapunguze madharau kidogo. Ama namna gani bwana? Si wapunguze madharau ama majamaa? Wacheni madharau mingi, punguzeni kidogo. Hata sisi tuko hapa na hatuendi mahali, na sisi si maskwota, na sisi ni wa Kenya pia. Na mkizidi tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 tutakutana na nyinyi kwa debe.
The Kenya Kwanza team, making several stops within Nairobi County, told off the government over its recent bid to lower the price of unga, terming it as a political move.
Hawajashukisha bei ya mafuta ya kupika, hawajashukisha bei ya petroli, hawajashukisha bei ya sukari, alafu wanasema wanataka washukishe bei ya unga kwa mwezi mmoja. Yaani ni jambo wakifikiri kwa huo mwezi mmoja watamdanganya mupigie watu wa kuzimia kura.
Tunajua mpango wenu ulikuwa ni kupandisha bei ya unga, muhonge watu na unga ya relief ya serikali. Sasa imekwama, mumeshukisha ya unga. Tunawaambia leo pia mushukishe ya mafuta ya kupika, mushukishe ya mafuta ya gari, mushukishe ya mchele, mushukishe ya chumvi ya gas ya kupika hata ya kiberiti.
The Kenya Kwanza team took the opportunity to drum up support for their candidates seeking various elective positions in the fast approaching August 9 polls.
The Kenya Kwanza team, led by Deputy President William Ruto, completing their campaigns in Nairobi County. They are now expected to tour Ukambani region, visiting the counties of Machakos and Kitui. Mwege William, TV47, Kamukonji in Nairobi County.
All right, thank you so much, Moigi, for that. And it's one of the stories that makes, this conversation this morning. And therefore, we get straight to it, finds itself on the papers. And so as we also unpack some of the stories that have been captured in the papers, we do not run away from that. In studio with me, Dennis Nthumbi, governance expert, seated right next to me. We're told there's going to be that one shot that, yes, captures him. He's right next to me. In the middle, Ndegwa Wahome, governor candidate Nyandarua. Wakili, it's been a long time. I hope you're well. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much. Good morning, leader.
Good
Happy
morning.
to be back here again.
Yes.
The heat is too much at the grassroots there, Machinani.
But the coast is clear?
And the coast is clear, and therefore we are stuck at the grassroots.
Yeah, the majority of them, you call them today, that they will tell you, tuko mashinani, you have to sanitize the ground.
Tuko kwa ground.
Yes. And so we wish you nothing but the best. And lastly, we have the Secretary Political Affairs of Kanu. That is none other than Fred Okango. How are you, Fred?
I'm very well.
You've been well?
I'm very well, and we have been campaigning.
Clearly, we have been seeing you around.
We are hoping for the best, and Kenyans are hopeful.
Oh, really?
That we are going to have a better future.
Lakini wanasema ni kama mnaharibu sana na history ya Unga. I don't know whether it's you people, and Dennis must be wondering why I've not allowed him to say hi.
You know, Dennis and team will always say that when they have nothing to say. So we expect.
Dennis and Tim, what do you make of this politics of Ugali? They call it politics of Ugali. I don't know whether it is. I don't know what excitement it brings to the people of Kenya. I do not know whether Kenyans really understand the details of this subsidy and how it comes along. When we're talking about 4 weeks, how much of an impact is that? How many times do you consume Ugali in your house, say in a week? And I mean, does it really amount to some difference in terms of cushioning Kenyans? And when we say that, then what happens to the other commodities, including chumvi? That one that you never expected will have the prices shoot up, is extremely expensive today.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Kenyans. And Okango has labeled us as others. Of course, the 50 million plus Kenyans who are hungry. Yeah. Of course, it is him and his boss Uhuru and Gideon Moi. And the guys who are calling themselves high and mighty. Okay. And they can control the price of flour. They are now calling us others. It's okay. We accept that for now. In August, the 50 million Kenyans will be the ones that matter. This conversation about flour is a sad and a tragic conversation. And the reason why I'm saying it's a sad and a tragic conversation is because of the spirit behind it and the intent behind it. And truly, the intent behind this is to hoodwink Kenyans.
Not to cushion them?
No, there's nothing like cushioning here. And I'm looking at a document here, and I'll go through it, an official document.
Yes.
Is to hoodwink Kenyans to vote for Raila Odinga.
Is that what that document says?
The intent of the subsidization is what I'm talking about. The document doesn't say that. The document details the plan of how to hoodwink Kenyans. Essentially, the simple thing that is happening here is that the government sat in their boardrooms and decided what we will do is that we will enforce a subsidy program to the millers. Now, one of the things that you need to know is that there's already a scarcity of maize, and that scarcity of maize has been brought about by tragic policies that this government has instituted that have made the cost of farming maize almost impossible. And therefore, what we are doing is that we are buying maize by top dollar. You understand? From regions like Zambia and other Comesa regions and thereabout. So locally, the ugali on your table is an international ugali. It's not an ugali from Kenya. It's an ugali that you're working and being paid by the Kenyan shilling, but you're buying food by the dollar, technically. And that's the reason why. So there's a scarcity locally of maize. Yeah. And then, so then we have to buy the maize.
Import, yeah.
And essentially, what that has done, it has killed small millers and middle-sized millers in the country. What I'm saying is that those millers have shut down because they have no maize and they can't afford to import maize by top dollar. Okay. Now, so the ministry sat down and they said, the high cost of living and the fact that there's no food in the country, out of our own doing, is killing us. So what do? We will come with a subsidy program, what they are calling the Kenya Government Maize Subsidy Program 2022, which is going to be a contract from the Kenya government, the Republic of the state rather, and the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock and Fisheries, State Department of Agriculture. That subsidy program, it has various articles that are instituted, but one of the shocking ones is that they will go to the millers, promise a subsidy program. The subsidy program will be paid in 2022. The 130 shillings that they're subsidizing is not going to be paid now. There's no money available now. Is it? They will pay them post the elections. So here's a first hoodwink. And then they will get into the premises of these millers and enforce this, supervise and observe that millers must subsidize when it goes to the local market. Now, this same plan was done by the Handshake Brothers. Today, there's a subsidy enforcement program that happened in 2017. Today, the millers were never paid. They were never paid. Of course, the price was not high as that. But many millers will tell you, you call them here, ask them whether they were paid.
We'll perhaps need to do that.
But essentially, they will enforce by force, because this is a presidential decree, that they must subsidize that by force. You understand? And there's no money that has been given. Now, this is the tragedy at the end of the day. The tragedy is that, are we staring at another COVID billionaire scheme? Why? Who is going to get the subsidy program? Which millers? The real millers have shut down at the end of the day. They can't afford they can't afford maize. When you look at the chronology that Munya stated, the chronology that the president stated in terms of this matter, during Labor Day, his own speech, the disposition of the agriculture minister, it would tell you that this is an entire scheme to hoodwink Kenyans for 4 weeks. And after that, leave the millers to the dogs. Nobody will pay them. You know why? Parliament has not sat, and Speaker here will tell you of parliamentary procedures. Parliament has not sat to allocate this subsidy program. So number one, there's no money. And even if there was money, are we looking at another scandal where preferential payment will be done to specific people who are not millers? And number two, at the end of the day, the promise is for you millers, sorry, we don't have money now, but we are forcing you to give this discount into the market, at the end of the day. And you don't know whether the money will come or not.
Dennis, let's allow Wakili come in. Most of the times when then the government would commit to such, while it could take so long, eventually the payments are done. Of what ramification would it be, to the millers in the event that this is what is going to play out? But that aside, one would want to look at this as hoodwink. Yes, one would want to look at this as a political move. But let it not escape our minds that it's not Unga only that is extremely expensive, and therefore why would government wish to hoodwink Kenyans on the aspect of Unga alone? Is it that the competitors then are just blowing this out of proportion?
I think, leader, we have gone so low as a government in this country. When you look at CS Peter Munya, he doesn't even not believe in his statement. The body language can tell you that he does not even believe in what he is saying. And also, and I think I'm harsh, but that is the reality, that this issue actually is shameless. How can you start intervening? Kenyans have been suffering for all those days, for all those years, but now you are purporting to intervene. Only 20 days to elections. And then you are attaching on the most, the nerve center of the people's suffering, which is Unga. And that is Unga wa mahindi. You have left the petroleum products, which are a direct causal effect to what is happening now. You are not touching it. but you just are mentioning Unga. There is no legal regime or legal infrastructure that has been put into place to ensure that this is legitimate. Actually, this required obviously a cabinet approval. I don't think these days Kenya we have a cabinet that meets. It required to go to parliament for approval, and I don't think it would have caused any difficulty for the Speaker of the National Assembly to convene a special sitting, even after signing
to speak about giving subsidy to
this
Unga for
issue.
only 28 days.
Yes, at least if at least they wanted to be legitimate.
Okay.
Yeah, to be legitimate, because right now they are just blowing hot. There is nothing that can be implemented from what they are saying. And what this will cause, it will cause a lot of suffering to the people of Kenya, because there will be a lot of hoarding. And the Unga will cost even more than 200 shillings, because it will go to the black market. Because the millers will not agree to sell at 100. For subsidies, they are not aware when they will be paid, or where it will be legitimate or legal for it to be paid. Therefore, this is very unfortunate, and desperation has its limits. I think this government is going beyond the limits of desperation.
You know, I would wish for Fred to come in and perhaps tell us whether he buys into the argument of the gentleman. And I think in the best space, looking at some of the procedures as to the approval of such moves that are meant to cushion Kenyans, looking at what the Constitution dictates as pertaining to the interest of the people. Are there instances then government can pull such radical moves, not really radical, but almost, you know, instant moves for purposes of cushioning Kenyans without being questioned on why? Is it that they did not involve the cabinet? Why is it that they did not involve the parliament? Why is it that we are at this very state? And I mean, for instance, if it is about, it's a short-term, you know, form of subsidy, should it be looked at in such intense lenses?
Thank you, Linda. First of all, as a Kenyan, I recognize that Kenyans are suffering. I recognize again that the cost of living is so high for me, for you, and for many millions out there, and it's a fact. Number two, in my view, I strongly believe that the government that we have today is the government President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, who is the deputy president. So when William Ruto talks about another government, I don't know what he's talking about. And Kenyans have been asking him, which government are you talking about? Yeah. But be that as it may, the Ministry of Agriculture inked a deal with the millers so that, you know, they can bring down the cost of unga, which is a staple food, from 210 Kenya shillings to 100 shillings, almost by half. That is a good move. I am not privy to the document that Dennis purport to have, but I know that the media took a bit of their time yesterday and that they have given Kenyans this information. What this means to Kenyans is that for the short period that they're going to be cushioned, the government, led by President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, has put money aside in form of subsidy to the millers so that they can lower the cost of unga that majority of the people are using. In fact, a kg is projected to be selling at 52 shillings, while 2 kg is 100 bob. Now, on the issue of petroleum products that Speaker is talking about, we saw the other day when petroleum product was just about to hit 300. Yeah. And the president, again, through the help of his principal assistant, I believe, who is Ruto, brought another program. And the money that was paid through subsidy and cushioned Kenyans in the interim, because we are at hard economic times. These economic times are not issues that started yesterday, last year, 2 years ago. No, they have been building up. Who have been in power? Ruto and President Uhuru Kenyatta. Yeah. Those challenges they share together, and they must tackle them together because they took oath of office. They're the only two people who took oath of office. And if the president is doing this, then I think the deputy president who still sits in office should support him. Number two, the issue we are talking about here, Linda, today is an issue that we cannot afford to politicize. Because as we sit here, there are women in Kibera, in Gorogocho, in Mukuru, who are praying that God, please let this subsidy come through so that when we wake up in the morning, our children can go to school with something in their stomach. When we wake up, when we go to sleep, our children can sleep with something in their stomach. That is their prayer. If a politician of the stature of deputy president can go to the public and tell people that this government is hoodwinking, then I don't know what it's trying to do. Azimio, we have said that what we must focus on is social infrastructure. And this is part of it. Social infrastructure in the sense that we are looking at Inua Jamii. And one of the commitments that we have made there is that we must lower the cost of living through looking at the following. One, cost of unga. It is there in the document. Two, cost of energy. Three, cost of data. Because those are things that the young people are using, the old are using, the women are using. I heard the deputy president yesterday saying that they will lower the cost of fertilizer from 6,000 to at least 2,500. He didn't tell Kenyans how.
Yeah.
We are hoping that the deputy president that has been nominated, the running mate to Ruto, Gachagua today, will tell Kenyans how they're going to do that. We do hope that.
Yeah.
Now, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, we have said that the first thing that we must do, because we recognize that this is happening, we must lower the cost of farm inputs and make it accessible to all farmers. Issued with fertilizer, all other farm inputs. That is a commitment we are making. To them, they are promising. That's the difference between us and them. And when I say that, when these gentlemen and ladies have nothing to say, they go this route. This is what I mean. When something good happens in this country that is in their favor, they take credit.
Yeah.
When something good happens to Kenyans that they think they're losing political bonga points, then they start shouting on the top of their rooftops and incite Kenyans against that.
How can we?
They had their time.
Yes.
So let me finish.
And I'm asking, how can we look at this without viewing the same on political lenses as well?
You cannot. Linda, politics and development and solutions are the same. In fact, the president and the deputy president are products of politics. And what is happening to Kenyans require political solution. The legislation that happens are made by politicians. They're the legislators. So you cannot separate. In fact, today, anyone who claims that, this is just a political campaign, why did they wait so long? The question that we should ask them also, why didn't they sort it? Because they're also in the position to sort that at that time. And if it is true that there was no cabinet meeting to approve this, then what was happening in the last cabinet meeting that the president held? Who has the minutes? Had they privy to information? The deputy president sitting in that cabinet, has he told his team that in that meeting we never discussed this? And if they never discussed it, why didn't he raise it? Because he knew Kenyans are suffering. We must be honest. And our honesty is this as Azimio. We are saying we recognize that Kenyans are suffering. But we also recognize this government is not Raila's. This government is President Uhuru Kenyatta's and Ruto's. Raila has come in to help the president.
All right.
And that is what we are doing.
Okay.
We shall continue doing it, and Kenyans, freedom is here. It is not coming. It is here.
Briefly.
Yes,
before we go to Dennis.
Yes.
I think for my brother Fred, I think it is very difficult to defend this administration. For once, is that obviously he knows that Ruto is not in this government.
Is he not?
Executive order number 1 was very clear. All of his roles were taken away from
that was
him.
Speaker, that is misplaced an argument. That is misplaced an argument.
I think we needed to read executive order number 1.
Understand what does the constitution speak in terms of the duties of the government.
Tell your producer to extract the executive order.
Yes.
Let's go through the executive order and look at the roles of William Ruto that are stipulated in Article 148 that were given to Matiang'i. Let's do that.
All right, Wakili.
Yes, what I'm saying is that Fred believes that if something wrong is happening and Ruto is there, it is okay. That is why he thinks that whatever is happening is wrong, but because William Ruto is there, then it is legitimate and it is validated. Okay. What we are saying is that Ruto talks about successes before the handshake, and he talks about failures after the handshake. And the handshake and the executive order number 1 took away any legitimate responsibility conferred to the deputy president by the constitution.
The constitution.
It was taken away by the executive order number 1 issued by the president. And actually, it was declared by the court to be illegal. But still, Matiang'i holds the same powers, despite the court finding that they were in conflict with the constitution itself.
All right.
Therefore, the deputy president has no role, and we know he has no voice in that cabinet. He has no voice in this government. His voice was before 2018, and he enumerates the successes registered before then.
And perhaps that could be justified by the fact that he did not even know that then there's going to be adjustments on the prices of Unga. If he was part of the presidency, then maybe, just maybe, he would be privy to this information. Dennis, allow us to take a short break, and then we come back, start with you after this break.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. Here's our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers, as we know agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling plastics to make pavers.
The brick is stronger, it's cheaper, and it's lighter.
And
if you are, then let us depersonalize these issues on flour and cost of living in the country. Then we tackle the facts, and these are the facts.
Yeah.
The tragic thing is that almost about a year and a half back, A bag of maize was retailing about 2,500. Today, it's 6,500. And out of that scarcity, based on the cost of inputs and farming, local millers who are of small capacity and medium capacity are unable to afford that supply. And number two, the scarcity has caused them to close down. Large millers who have the economic capacity to import and have large storage facilities are the ones who are surviving now. The Standard wrote this, and they detailed how small and medium millers have shut down. So number one, that is a shutdown and a collapse of industries in this country that deal with food supply. So if millers have shut down and if there's no maize, so you can be assured that the farmer today is sleeping hungry. Where are the farmers in all this? It means that the one who farms a small scale or medium scale, that farmer today within the food production pipeline is non-existent, is wallowing in poverty. You understand? Right. So, and that's the reason why when you look at the financial commitment towards agriculture in the financial years of 2023 to 2027, Kenya Kwanza has committed itself to 250 billion shillings. Towards where? The small and the medium farmer. 2 million of them. To ensure, one of the things that we say here is to provide adequate, affordable working capital to all farmers through cooperative societies, deploy modern agricultural risk management instruments that ensure farming is profitable and income is predictable. There are a ramp of measures that Kenya Kwanza has detailed on its agricultural resuscitation to evade and elude food scarcity as we are now. The reason why we are where we are is because we can't produce food, even at sustenance level. The farmer was previously, within the threshold of 2018 to 2020, was farming to sell and couldn't have anything for themselves. The farmers were going hungry. And so the issue in this country is grave when an entire nation is depending on Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Raila Odinga to give them food rations. It's a very serious issue. It's not an issue that we can trivialize, like my brother Okango here is saying, and politicize it. You understand? The flour and the food on my table can never be controlled by two guys in State House for 4 weeks. The issue is, the plan on food subsidies is great. You understand? But why 2 weeks? Number two, funds are not available because Parliament has not sat and alluded it. So that is conmanship. When you're going to enforce and telling the miller, you must import at your own cost, look for the maize at your own cost, number one. Number two, when you buy this maize expensively, another executive order says that you must supply that maize cheaply. So what it's going to do, it will crush the only other facility that we have, that is the large miller. And then you're telling them, look, we will pay you in 2022. 2022, guys who are promising will pay are not going to be in government. Raila will not be president. Uhuru will not be president.
Right.
So who is going to pay these millers at the end of the day? Where's money? And you're going to have a new parliament. A new parliament that looks at the fact that procedures were not followed and there was no allocation of funds. And they have now to sit and look at the kind of billions that Munya is promising these people that is non-existent.
Why do you assume that they're not going to pay in this
Because millers were not paid for subsidy facilities in 2018 and 2019.
So
I'm telling you,
history.
there is a precedence. There's a history based on that. Okay. And what I told you is that you can invite the millers and ask them whether they were paid or not. Now, why are we in this situation? We're in this situation because the government reprioritized the Big Four. One of the pillars on Big Four is food security. And how did we reprioritize? Okango and his fellows ran throughout. By the way, this gentleman was arguing against BBI. He was against, you remember he was a Third Way Alliance Secretary General. He hated BBI, you understand? Now he's in Kanu. That's the reason why he's saying what he's saying. But the truth is, we repurposed the Big Four.
Yeah.
And the Big Four was supposed to look at one of the pillars was food security. We went through rampages of financial spendings and whatever it is on BBI. We looked at other things. We stole money, KEMSA, whatever it is that there is. And we forgot that the nation is starving. At that particular time that BBI was there, we had COVID, we had a pandemic. We had 12 counties that were facing starvation. Then in 2021, those counties came off 12 to 23. Today, an entire nation is starving. It cannot produce its staple food. Linda, staple food is a serious crisis. If there's a revolt that is driven by food scarcity, you can't enforce because you can't beat down and clamp down people who are hungry. Today, what will stop Kenyans from raiding supermarkets? You saw a year ago, people were going to supermarkets and raiding cooking oil.
Yeah.
Today, cooking oil is unaffordable. So what we are saying is that if you're talking about a food subsidy program, look, call Parliament. Let Parliament decide. You understand? Enhance this subsidy program way beyond the election cycle. You understand? Uhuru Kenyatta cannot buy Kenyans, cannot buy our right to take Kenya back from him with a piece of 2 kg flour. It's an insult that we can't stand at the end of the day. We are saying call Parliament and extend the subsidy program beyond the 4 weeks.
All right.
You know that you want to would weaken.
Perhaps these are things that need to be well thought, Fred. Valid points being raised in this particular case. Points that would cost President Uhuru Kenyatta. Points that will literally cost the millers in the event that direction it takes. I mean, in response to what it is that Dennis Nthumbi says, as well as just looking at the executive order, of course we cannot get into details of the same, in comparison to the constitution and what it dictates are the duties of the deputy president. Do you suppose that President Uhuru Kenyatta was out of order to have taken this direction and that this is on the onset is what closed Deputy President William Ruto from government?
Because I'm a generous man, and I respect my senior, I would want to give him the opportunity to respond. Then I'll respond together.
Yes, Fred. Now,
a counter, I know.
Leader,
that is a good one, yes.
I think that this is a bad thing because it is not founded on goodwill. I think this is purposely to get Azimio to the leadership of this country. And this purported subsidy is merely for the benefit of Azimio, but not the people of this country. And when also they say that it is only for 4 weeks, then what happens after 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Will Kenyans have become richer? Will Kenyans not need the unga that is subsidized? What will have happened in 4 weeks that would change what is being promised now? Therefore, this is a bad joke for me, and it is not fair to Kenyans. And I would ask Kenyans that they look through this very clearly, through these prisms of deceit, and be able to see what it is for. It is purely a campaign agenda for the Azimio candidate to assume the presidency of this country. It is not about Kenyans. This administration has not been there for Kenyans. It is completely divorced from reality.
If that is what it will take to cushion Kenyans in totality politics, which is actually the bloodline of every activity in the country, don't you think Kenyans are at a point where they say, you know what, all the same, for as long as it's...
With our desperation, we can take everything.
Yeah.
But then we should see these leaders for who they are. They have not been able, after the handshake, after the executive orders, number one, they have not been able to offer solutions to Kenyans. Now, it is only 20 days to elections. That is the time they are purporting to offer solutions to Kenyans. Yes, we are desperate. Yes, these people have been oppressive to us. Yes, they have killed our aspirations. But 20 days to elections, this is too small. And actually, it is not meant to benefit us. It is still meant to benefit themselves. If this government fought corruption, without looking at where you stand politically, I don't think it would be where we are. Kemsha took away billions from Kenyans. All these scandals, our roads that we are doing, good roads, yes, but 10 times the cost of doing a similar road in the East African context. And if all these are government that minds about the welfare of Kenyans, it should have been intervened. Again, why do you want to apply illegitimate authority to offer this food subsidy to Kenyans? Why would you not want to follow the legal infrastructure? We know that Kenya, we are where we are today because of impunity. Where you are in a position of power, you don't care about anything else. You don't care about the constitution. You don't care about the rule of law. And this has taken Kenya down the drain. And why these desperate measures that are being taken now is only because they have to win elections. No, the people of Kenya are nowhere in the radar. These things are not, these moves are not made for the benefit of Kenyans.
This would guarantee them a win, you suppose?
No, it will not. We can see through it.
And that they really do not have the wisdom to detect that this really would not do much in terms of winning them.
They are so divorced from reality, they don't understand the basic things.
Fred.
Linda, let me start from the sittings of Parliament. The other day, you saw a cancellation of a special sitting.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that was cited by minority leadership and majority leadership was that they cannot call their members to sit, and it was never gazetted. Who is the Speaker of the National Assembly? Justin Muturi. Which political formation does he belong to? UDA, or what we call Kenya Kwanza. Why did he do that? Because probably he didn't see the need. Who tells Kenyans, or who says that maybe that special sitting would have addressed even other more important issues to Kenyans? We don't know, but we suspect. Number two, I have listened to Dennis, and I was hoping Dennis would tell Kenyans today on this national television the contents of Executive Order number 1, that they purport to have taken away the functions the Deputy President as stipulated in Article 147 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. It is not there. The Constitution of Kenya 2010 stipulates that the Deputy President shall be the principal assistant to the President and shall do other functions, Linda, as may be assigned by the President. That role you cannot take away from William Ruto. He has it.
Yeah.
Number two, I don't want to go into details of the politics, but I want to go into solutions, because Azimio and Kenya, our role as we get into government is to offer solutions. There's a cogent agenda number 4 in the Azimio and Kenya manifesto. It's called Azimio la Ukulima. What our competitors that we do respect are forgetting is that when we talk about high cost of living, particularly on food production, we are not only looking at the mismanagement in government that they have been party to, but we're also looking at climate adaptation and mitigation measures and support that we must provide as leaders so that we have enough food production all over Kenya. And we go there and say that even in the counties under Azimio la Ugatuzi, one county, one product, we must look at the counties and say exactly which county can produce what and what are the adaptation features in that county that can support that, so that we specialize. Number 3, Linda, I am very pained as a Kenyan and a parent that we are going into an election 22 days and our competitors are saying that because the government is offering solution to the issues of high cost of living, particularly on food, that is a campaign tool for Raila Odinga, who is a leading presidential candidate. It is unfortunate because they had the same opportunity to offer that and use it to campaign. Politics must remain politics, and solutions to the real life situations.
What opportunities are you referring to?
The opportunities that we are referring to today are opportunities to make Kenyans lower the yoke of high cost of living from their neck and put it down. It cannot wait any longer. It cannot wait any minute. We must lower it now, today and now.
But just for 4 weeks?
No. I am saying if William Ruto was in a position to offer that solution, he would do it even yesterday. But because he doesn't have it, he waited to use it as a campaign tool to criticize and disparage the government that he serves. That's why he's talking like that. For us, we have said, we have an opportunity to offer solutions. By the way, Linda, if you look at our document, we have an agenda. then we have the opportunities therein, then we have a commitment. The commitment that we are putting to the people of Kenya today that are watching. And I am speaking here as a Kenyan who has undergone the same problems, because I started by saying, I acknowledge, first of all, as Okango, that we have a problem. The cost of living is high, both affiliated to, both as a contribution from the government of today and climate change issues and the global effects of energy and the rest. We do acknowledge that. But Linda, we cannot whine about it and use it as a campaign tool every day. We must offer solution. This afternoon, Madam Martha Wangari Karua, our Deputy President designate, will be taking the podium to explain to Kenyans why Azimio la Ukulima is going to sort this problem once and for all. And this is a lady that has demonstrated that for sure he has the heart of Kenyans. And she is saying that in doing this, for you to be deputy president, you must conform with the provisions of Article 147. Not go ahead and start despairing your boss and your government that is serving. Well, the reason that's why it's happening today is because our deputy president, who was elected with Uhuru Kenyatta, committed to help his boss through thick and thin. And he said in one of the interviews that if anything goes wrong in this government, he will have to be blamed. Today things have gone wrong. Why don't you want us to blame him? We blame him.
Okay, well, do we really need to go back to the Constitution and see the roles of the Deputy President? Perhaps Kenyans would definitely get there and see, and it's available online if people do not have a copy.
Absolutely. Allow me to speak.
Make it brief.
We know those roles, and those roles fall under a delegated disposition. And that delegated disposition, if the President refuses to delegate, what will the Deputy do? The President has chose to delegate those duties to one Raila Odinga and another one Matiang'i. And Kenyans know the truth, you understand? So would you want the president, the deputy president to force the president to delegate duties to him? But we put the deputy president there to make sure that they don't take the nation the way they did. They don't purport BBI. He was one of the most astute defenders of the Constitution. When the friends of Okango now tried to empower themselves with sovereign power that doesn't have an expiry date, at the end of the day. And it's interesting to hear that Azimio has a plan.
Okay.
But if we look at that plan and the intent, is that their desire was to make seats for a few, continue to repurpose government for their own personal use. They have used funds at the end of the day to sponsor constitutional review processes. They've never given us COVID billionaire thieves at the end of the day. They have never fought corruption. For a whole 5 years now, they have never done anything on the cost of living at the end of the day. But let us go to critical issues. One of the things we are saying, Linda, is that Kenya Kwanza has a very strong commitment, and part of that commitment is to transform 2 million poor farmers from food deficit to surplus producers through an input finance and intensive agriculture extension support plan. And this is basically to generate minimum productivity to a higher productivity of about 50,000 shillings per acre. Today, that farmer is absent in the entire food chain. His colleagues from Azimio la Umoja ensured that the local production industry is dead. The cooking oil, your cooking oil that you're saying, we earn by the shilling and we buy cooking oil by top dollar. Today, Kenya is spending 65 billion shillings buying cooking oil, 25 billion shillings buying rice and wheat. Kenya Kwanza has committed to reduce dependence on basic food imports by 30% on cooking oil and from 25% to 40% in terms of wheat and rice. There's a commitment to ensure that your food on the table does not come from abroad, it comes locally. That is a Kenya Kwanza commitment. For as long as we don't deal with that aspect, millers will not survive. Today, not only can the miller afford the supply because the farmer isn't there, they can't just afford to import a bag of maize. It's not possible. And if that miller cannot afford to import a bag of maize, I also cannot afford to import a bag of maize. And even if I go looking for it locally, it isn't there. Our colleagues in Azimio have not spoken about anything of that sort. In fact, The duty that they have given Mother Karua is one. When you get in, you'll be the justice minister. To do what? Change the constitution. To get Uhuru Kenyatta back to power, because the Azimio did post him as a chairman who will be commanding a president in his retirement. And that Azimio, that date itself, sits as something that upsets the constitution. One of the things we are saying is that Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, you cannot bribe Kenyans to vote for you with a packet of flour.
Without thinking
it's not
about,
possible at the end of the day.
That
and one is an insult to the integrity of Kenyans. That you have made them hungry, and then you come towards the end of the days and you time that and you say, for 4 weeks only, myself, Uhuru Kenyatta, and Raila Odinga, we will give you 1 packet of flour.
Let's
so
take it up.
Let's
take it up there from that point. Yes, for 4 weeks only, Wakili. That this then is not going to be recipe for disaster. That after 4 weeks, like you rightfully asked, then what happens? Is it not going to trigger a revolution, or are we past that level of a revolution, looking at what is happening globally, because times are dire?
I think they are trying to set up Deputy President William Ruto, so that when he takes over, he fights that now the price of unga and Uhuru and Raila was 100 shillings, and that now he has to manage it that way. But Kenya Kwanza, we are ready. We have the matrix and we have the infrastructure on how to deal with these issues. Even before they offered this fake subsidy. Therefore, I thought it was a setup so that Ruto, at the just assuming the presidency, he is seen to be a failure, but it will not happen. The other issue, Rida, I would want to talk about executive order number 1 so that we can cross it, is that the problem with this country is that impunity is reigning over the constitution and the rule of law in this country. That if the rule of law was followed, the deputy president would be squarely to blame for all the shortcomings that we have in this administration. Unfortunately, against the constitution, the president comes up with executive order number 1, where he reorganizes the government. In an 84-page document, there is not even a single mention of the deputy president. In an 84-page document, an executive order is founded on the constitution or on statute. This was founded on nothing, on only the feelings of the president and those close to him. And to see the extent of impunity in this country, Reader, and I have been here with you discussing the case of Nyandarua, where despite the supremacy of the constitution and the place of an assembly as a creature of the constitution and the powers of the speaker in controlling his assembly, my assembly is closed for 8 months by this government, just because Ndegwa Wahome is thought to be afraid of the deputy president, because Ndegwa Wahome is thought not to be supporting BBI. A whole assembly is closed down because as the president of the county assemblies forum, I have to be fought at all fronts because this government wants the county assemblies to pass and approve the BBI. So this is the hallmark of this administration, impunity, and this is another demonstration of impunity, which is not meant to achieve anything for the people of this country.
Okay, and I think we shelved that one. We look forward to see what happens as pertaining to that. You want to say something about Sonko and the fact that he wants to challenge this at a higher level? Is there going to, I mean, is he really going to get a lifeline?
I think the Supreme Court is a court of the last resort in the country. And what it reinstated and mainstreamed is the fact that the impeachment was procedural. And by Supreme Court, the Supreme Court insisting that that was procedural, then I think for the next 10 years, perhaps until there's a constitutional review, Sonko has been tied to political oblivion. But of course, him being a politician, he will entertain his followers into the tides that there's still an inkling of political survival. And then perhaps now Sonko can redistribute itself to other sectors of society, maybe business or any other thing. But in terms of him being in an elective office, I don't think there's any possibility thereof.
And that's
I think
the East African, the
essential.
Court of East African Justice.
I don't think that there's a statute that indicates that there's an external court that can override the Supreme Court of this nation. And that sits within our sovereignty as a nation.
Briefly, Wakili, just briefly before we take a short break.
Yes.
The East African Court of Justice
I think
cannot do anything?
Sonko's goose is cooked.
Yeah.
Even those laws that we have assimilated to our constitution, then they cannot override our constitution. It is the supreme law. And when you look at Dastan Omari, when I saw him speaking about Article 99.3, that before the avenues of appeal and review are exhausted, then Sonko should be allowed to contest. You know, he is quoting Article 99 of the Constitution completely out of context.
Okay.
Article 99 talks about contesting to be a member of parliament. And Article 99.3 is about review and appeal if you are stopped from contesting for parliament. And Article 99 is very clear. It's about parliamentary issues. Article 75.3 is very clear. When you are removed from office, under Chapter 6, then there is no other leeway. The Supreme Court has spoken, then Sonko should look for other things to do.
Okay.
But not to occupy any public office in this country.
All right. Well, interesting. I would love to hear the views of Fred, but after this break.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates, Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions, business, farming, Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of...
All right, Fred Okango, Ndegwa Wahome, as well as Dennis Nthumbi. And Fred, on this matter of Sonko, even before it gets to such levels, you know, you have occupied an office, you have been impeached, you have not attempted to overturn the impeachment, and it is declared that really you are not, you know, occupying this office anymore. I would want to assume that on grounds of morality, it is only common sense that perhaps you say, you know, I keep off these political positions or these public positions. Why is it that Sonko really is willing to put up a fight? The other day, your opponents were almost very happy. It sounded like, you know, he had gone to get Mosho Moja, and that's why he was moving around with the president. And it appeared like now, because he's supporting Azimio somehow, then he gets some reprieve. But such is not the case today.
I don't think that's true, because, you know, most of our competitors have always argued that probably the President Uhuru Kenyatta is so powerful that he can even order courts, he can order... No, I don't think the President is like any other Kenyan. And Article 3 of the Constitution requires that all of us must respect and uphold the Constitution of Kenya. So he does that the same. Issue of Sonko, and let me take Kenyans back. We have Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya in this country, and we have got Article 73 therein. And you see, majority of the public officers or state officers have forgotten the content. And when you are a public officer, that is a trust that you have been given of the public, and you must exercise it in a certain manner. One of the manners, it must be consistent with the objects of the Constitution. It must bring dignity to the office that you hold, and it must also bring respect to the people that you lead. So when you follow it through that way, then you can actually come out the other side and look at yourself like in the mirror and understand, do you really reflect the provisions? Number 3, this issue of Sonko, we also must remember that all of us have got political rights in Article 38. And Wakilia knows that. And those rights, you cannot take them away from anyone. And that's why today, President has decided to support Raila Odinga. It is his right. Tomorrow, William Ruto will decide to support Fred Okango. It will be his right. Or Okango will support somebody else, Dennis. It is his right. You cannot take, those are a bill of rights. You cannot. Now, the issues that the court have been discussing or have been, the determination the court has been making around this issue of Sonko, they're varied. And it is true that when you're running for the office of Member of Parliament, you cannot be disqualified unless you exhaust all possible avenues of appeal or review. That is true, as Wakila said it. But the issue of Sonko, at the time when the High Court was making that ruling, the issue at the Supreme Court had not been, the determination had not been made in the High Court, in the Supreme Court. So they are right to do that. Again, when Sonko was going for the launch where the president was, I don't think he was aware of what was going to happen at the Supreme Court. And therefore, being a politician he was doing his politics, which is normal with everyone. In this one, I don't want to talk much about it, because already Sonko's lawyers have said they're going to apply for a review, judicial review at the Supreme Court. I think they've done that. And also they have gone ahead to the East African Court of Justice, right? So let's wait and see how it happens. But I can tell Kenyans, it is important that we breathe life to Chapter 6. It is important that we abide by the provisions of Article 73. It is important that we abide by the provision of Article 73 that requires that leadership and integrity is upheld. However, also it is important that we respect political rights, and you cannot take that away from people. So for me, I want to leave it there because it's an issue that is under active judicial review. I don't want to talk much about it. We will wait, and the courts will give a determination, and we can talk about it after that.
So in the same breath, we wait to see what happens as to the case of Kigame.
Reuben
Kigame, as well, who has challenged, his being locked out from the presidential race, somehow successful to this level, because then the court says that there needs to be a review as to the same, and we get to see whether in this last lapse or last hours he will be lucky enough to find his name on the presidential list. But away from it, we also are looking forward to see what will happen on the debate today. Any expectations?
I think, first of all, there's something that my brother has said. In terms of the president's ability to, influence the courts and ratify what is in there. But we want to remind Okango that Sonko was the president's project. And Raila is the president's project. And based on lawfare, we see that both of them fall under one category. Other than the fact that at least Sonko's development record in Nairobi outmatches the one of Raila, incredibly. At least Sonko fought for some interesting things that Raila may have failed based on his record in Kibra. But however, one of the things that I love about the Supreme Court is that the fact that they have put weight under Chapter 6. The president defended Raila when Raila saw himself. So the president himself is not integrous in terms of the defense of the law. And we can see that by their journey to assault the current constitution and bring in BBI. So I wouldn't give the president and Raila, best practice and best conduct when it comes to defending Chapter 6.
Okay.
However, today's debate, 100% Rigathi Gachagua will flow Mother Karua.
Okay.
And this is the reason why.
100% he will show up. Let's start from there.
He was there yesterday and he promised to show up.
All right.
He was at,
yes, he's doing the place. Yes.
Occasion.
All right.
But even in terms of moral authority, Mother Karua cannot match Gachagua. Why am I saying that? It's because Mother Karua today is on a campaign trail that is funded by COVID billionaires, is on a campaign trail that is funded by Unga subsidies, is on a campaign trail that is funded by everything wrong that we've seen in the last 5 years. And she's on the top of cars screaming, I will fight corruption. Which corruption will you fight when your campaign is being funded by money that is of dubious means?
Yeah.
But then we see here an astute man, Rigathi Gachagua, who has, for the last 5 years and a long period of time, has fought and has stood against impunity, has defended the assault of this constitution from those who are purporting and furthering BBI. So from a moral authority, number one, Gachagua defeats Mother Karua by 100%.
Okay.
From ideas, you certainly cannot match the Azimio's copy and paste, what is it, that manifesto. Paper they are saying, they're calling manifesto with the Kenya Kwanza. Okay. So even from an ideas perspective, Rigathi Gachagua has a better advantage to Mother Karua. And Mother Karua, by the way, she doesn't even articulate the manifesto. She has never spoken about manifesto. One of the things that she says is that I will fight corruption, I will fight corruption. But which corruption when you're working with the bad boys? It's like she is saying, I'm this good girl, but I love the company of bad boys, at the end of the day. And so from both perspectives, even from a debate perspective, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is an astute debater. And that will come today. And if Azimio suffered during the Nairobi gubernatorial debate, the fact that I don't think Kigame has any teeth remaining anymore, it was a complete knockout. This one will be an absolute blackout, because one of the best sons in this nation is today going to correct one of the daughters of this nation who is standing on the wrong side.
Why are you overlooking the other two? Okay, well, I wouldn't assume that you've overlooked the two, the ladies.
Because you have asked me specifically about Rigathi Gachagua and Mother Karua. I think one of the things that needs to happen, I believe in the progression of democracy. I believe in an equal chance. I don't know why the media decided to, to give others a greater precedence and others based on polls that we don't know whether they are scientific or not. I think all of them should have been put on the same platform as Kenyans with equal rights under our constitution, and they should all debate equally. Whether you are, and because the media cannot decide that this person is winning and this person is not winning, I think that's the highest form of discrimination. And Kenya Kwanza, we don't believe in that nature of discrimination. I think honestly, the media that is enshrined under the Bill of Rights, because there's no statute that establishes media as a commercial entity. If the media technically emanates, the functions of the media emanate from the Bill of Rights, they should then look at every Kenyan from the prism of the
This
Bill of
was
Rights.
reached at as picking a couple of polls, not just one, yeah?
And fictitious polls.
Are they?
That are manufactured in some funny corners of the
let's
world.
allow Wakili come in on that.
Okay.
Are they fictitious? And would it be fair to place them on the same ground if at all we really want to see these issues articulated and, Kenyans having a chance to perhaps, especially those ones that are undecided, to make that final decision, having 4, say, candidates on the same podium? This is the biggest campaign ever you would get. Campaign platform.
For me, I think I have a lot of tremendous respect for the lady, that is Mother Karua. She is my senior in the profession, and she has done good for this country, and especially the liberation movement. I have tremendous respect for Rigathi Gachagua from where he has come from and where he is standing now on the pedestal of history making in this country. What I am sympathetic to Mother is that mother will be reading a different script from what she has been molded around all her life. Mother will not be speaking from her heart. And therefore, I am seeing a mother who will look overwhelmed and kind of cornered even before the debate starts.
Absolutely.
Because she will not be the mother we know.
Okay.
She will be mother reading a script that she does not understand.
Who is guilty.
And she does not appreciate. On the other side, I think Rigathi Gachagua will be speaking from the heart. We will be speaking the language of the people of this country. We will be speaking the language of those who are oppressed, those who are disenfranchised, those who are suffering. And he will be offering very simple solutions to the problems, that when we fight corruption, there will be enough resources in this country to be put Kenya on the right track. And therefore, the Gachagua will be speaking to the hearts of Kenyans, but Mother Karua will be just reading the code print to Kenyans, and I don't think it will gel with the Kenyans. And therefore, I can deduce that Rigathi Gachagua will come out overwhelming the winner in this debate.
Okay. Yes. All right. And you want, by all means, you want to blame the media for, grouping them. But then again, you realize that even in the analysis, there's some essence of grouping, because you realize nobody is talking about these other two, Justina as well as Ruth. And so you ask yourself, what does that mean? Does it not showcase a scenario where there's really not much of confidence in terms of the numbers, or in terms of the capability, or in terms of what it is that these two have to offer? Fred.
Thank you, Linda. First of all, I really must congratulate Rigathi Gachagua, Wangari Martha, Wamai, and the other lady, Ruth. I must congratulate them. They have done well so far. For them to be nominated by their respective presidential candidates as running mates. Number two, I must also congratulate all the presidential candidates who thought it wise that women of this country are equally important, and in an attempt to fulfill the constitutional principles of 2/3, by being deliberate of bringing women up to the top, they have done well. Now, because I speak for Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, and I have interest in this country like any other, I want to tell you the expectations of Kenyans tonight. Cometh the hour, cometh the lady. Madam Martha Wangari Karua. The expectation is a stellar performance. A lady that has a track record, right from the trenches in the multi-party democracy fight. To date, the only lady, the Iron Lady, that has been described by media as the only man in the Kibaki government those days. A lady that when stands with you, will support you, and she believes in what she's saying. When you are wrong, she'll tell you. Madam Martha Karua Wangari today, when she takes the podium, the expectation that the Kenyans have of her is that she will speak accurately and eloquently about the agenda and gender. They told us, the Kenya Kwanza, that they only have agenda. We are telling them. Tonight, Martha will tell you, we have both the agenda and gender. They told us, huyu mama, and they disparaged us because they think that women have no place. Tonight, Martha Karua will tell Kenyans why women are important, because she will be speaking eloquently about Azimio la wakina mama, where in Azimio agenda, we are saying, Linda, that women must have access to business funds. Women must have access to socio-economic rights. Women must have access to all the demands that they also require to develop themselves. Martha Wangari Karua today will face Gachagua on that podium, where 40 million Kenyans will be watching, and they'll be telling them that because I believe in Azimio la Uwajibikaji, and in Azimio we say, don't touch, don't do, don't dare. I am sure Gachagua will be facing the other side, because that is why this country is collapsing. The issue of corruption. You cannot talk about development without talking about corruption. Martha Wangari Karua today will unpack, just hold on, will unpack the avenues of how we are going to address the issue of corruption. If you ask me, Linda, that question again, I'll tell you, the expectations that Kenyans have today is the expectation that Martha Wangari Karua, a debater, a lawyer by profession, a woman, a mother, who believes that this country is not only for her good, but also for the benefit of the majority out there who are today sleeping angry, who are today suffering because of the effects of corruption, who are today not getting opportunity. Millions of young women will be watching Martha tonight. They have hope because the ticket of Baba and Mama is a reality. And we are telling them that bring Gachagua. Let him not just go and inspect the venue and at night disappears. We want Gachagua because we respect him. Yeah. He's a worthy competitor. We want Gachagua to face Martha and face Kenyans. But for us, we respect the fact that we have an agenda and the gender. They only have the agenda.
You know, one of the things that Azimio has made known is deceit and public PR that is of facts. And I want to remind my brother that today Mother Karua is not facing Rigathi. Mother Karua is facing Kenyans who are angry, hungry, destitute, sick, and broke. And she stands on the side that has perpetrated this. And I think, Okango, it's important for you to have that sensitivity, you know, especially when we are talking on national TV. And those Kenyans who are going through a tough time will tell of Mother Karua, who a few months ago stood against impunity, called out Kenyatta and called out Raila, and now she's busy partying with them all over the country. I also need to say this for clarity's sake. IBC, and there's a report that came the other day that said Kenya Kwanza is the only coalition, and UDA is the only party that has met the gender threshold. And I think it's important to institute that. And therefore, Rigathi Gachagua will also be representing many women in this nation, not just one woman. Si mama moja ni mama wote. Many women in this nation who today cannot feed their children. Their businesses have been criminalized in this country. They can't make a living. When they go to hospital, they cannot access health care. And those women are going to be represented by Rigathi Gachagua. It's not just about a position. It's about bringing all women on the table so that they can realize the socio-economic gains. Now, there's a lie that has been succeeded, that Mother Karua has stood against graft. But her record implicates her, that she's never stood against graft. On October 28th, 2004, Mother Karua tabled an amendment in Parliament seeking to remove Finance Minister then, David Miraria, from an official report of the Controller of Auditor General on 2.7 billion Anglo-leasing scandal. On the 7th of December 2005, Mother Karua, who was then appointed the Justice Minister, on 3rd February 2006, Justice Bosire handed Goldenberg report, which reported that 135 billion was lost. Karua did nothing to implement the report. On 2nd June 2006, Mother Karua, a finance minister, joined Raphael Tuju. By the way, this is Nation that published. And I was in Nation yesterday and I told that. In rejecting John Gedongo's dossier on Anglo-leasing and described him as a letdown to the country for exposing the scandal to the world. On June 11, 2006 in Nakuru, Karua, then the Justice Constitutional Minister, talked of political vouchers who have taken the Atul brothers saga as an opportunity to attack the government.
Dennis.
I have 25 issues here.
Dennis.
On clear evidence that Mother Karua has been an impediment towards the succession of graft. When Kibaki took power, you know the reason why Mother Karua walked out? Is part of the evidence was that she was head-on collision with the then PS of ethics, because the Kibaki record was, I am going to bring ethics in government and I am going to increase capacity to fight corruption. Why did Mother Karua walk out when the country needed to fight corruption?
Would it be
at
easy?
the end of the day? So what I'm saying is that I am not talking about about hearsay. And then we have to be cautious of braggadocio. The people of Central hated it that she walked out of Kibaki when Kibaki needed her the most. You know, that is the nature of braggadocio. So I want to remind my colleague, please, when you're bringing Mama Moja on the table and lying to us that she has stood for graft,
would it be easy?
Kenyans understand the truth, and the truth shall set us free. But I want to say tonight, the expectations of a righteous man avail as a match. And today, Gachagua will reveal to the world that not only is Kenya Kwanza standing on the right side of history, but he is a man who bears the marks of a liberator.
Hold it.
He is
And
the
you know,
true
and
son
Wakili,
of the Mau Mau.
Wakili, how can we look at these individuals without looking at their history? Because the same way, it's very important, the same way now, they're going to release a list of the history of Gachagua, which you will not like. The same way they will release a list of Deputy President William Ruto, which you would perhaps try to counter or would not like. While history is very, very important, what does it mean?
Actually, what I think is that we have to look at history because the history informs the future.
Yes.
And those pitfalls and hurdles that were faced during those historical recorded moments, we shall make them avoid the same when we go into the future. So at the end of the day, what I would expect is that now Gachagua and Martha Karua are under strict and cross public scrutiny. And Kenyans should have a chance and an opportunity to make the right choice. And therefore, for me, is that everything that belongs to Gachagua and to Martha, they should be put on the table. And then the Kenyans will be able to make the right choices.
Don't you think it will hit your side perhaps more, or it will be a plus?
I don't think so. You know, there are a lot of innuendos. And
I am asking a question like any other Kenyan
I'm
would.
saying that there are
if we're going to put the do's, the good, the merits, demerits.
That's an unfortunate assumption.
No. The merits and demerits. I mean, and he's there to defend whether he thinks, well, their candidate is the best. And that's the reason why you have presented all this to counter what it is that Fred said. I think that is in order.
What I would want to say is this. There are a lot of issues, innuendos, rumor mongering, aspersions that are being cast on our candidate. And I think today will be an opportunity for our candidate at the glare of the public of this country to be able to disabuse those assertions, which we know they are not founded on anything. He has been put in areas of geography in this country where he has never even worked. And I think today Kenyans will know the truth about our candidate for deputy president, and they will be even well armed as they make their decisions on the 9th of August. Perhaps you could have some intel,
and Fred, before you come in, perhaps you could have some intel. What informed the change? Because there was a general feeling that this is going to be a biased process, not a straight process. What informed the change? The confidence was instigated?
One of the things that Kenya Kwanza has braved themselves is the ill treatment and the madarao that Azimio and who happen to be the quasi-government now have purported and taken us through the 5 years.
Okay.
And we have, as a populace that represents all 50 million Kenyans who are biased on food, who are biased on the economy, who have never realized the gains in this country. And state capture that has ensured that a section of the media play their tune at the end of the day. We have braved an environment that is not judicious or democratic. But you saw what happened to Sakaja. He won it. You saw what has happened to William Ruto. He's on the ballot. They said he wouldn't be on the ballot. At the end of the day, Kenyans are going to realize food sovereignty.
Okay.
You understand? On the 9th of August, at the end of the day, we will fight bias, we will fight economic bias, all types of biasness at the end of the day. And I can tell you the truth of the fact is that on the 9th of August, this nation will be liberated from food, from all types of biasness, and William Ruto will be the president.
Let's allow Fred a moment to perhaps make a rejoinder.
Linda, this morning I'm a very happy Kenyan. I'm a very happy Kenyan because for the first time, Dennis and the team have acknowledged history. They told us that history is not important.
Yeah.
Today, he is saying that they need history. Interestingly, he has dug deep in the archives and he has lifted allegations, and those allegations
that are not factually
are not factual.
No, okay.
Because, just hold on, he says that Martha was an impediment. He's not saying Martha was corrupt. He's not saying Martha stole money.
I think he was responding to you, Fred. He was responding to you because you said
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
The nation from countering corruption. What are you?
Proceed. You're protected.
Yes. So I must thank Dennis that he actually took his time to go into history And now what I want him to go and do next time, now that history document that he has, let him now analyze it and present it as a proper report that Kenyans can consume without allegation. Number two, tonight, I must also thank the organizers. I'm not sure if you are part of the moderators or if you're part of the panel. I'm sure you are. I'm sure.
Let's wait and see.
Okay. And because you are a journalist and I want to take this also to you.
You know, adjustments can be made anytime.
Okay. I want to take this to you. As I thank the organizers of this debate, because they are giving Kenyans a perfect platform for them to know the suitability, competency, and capability of leaders. We expect as Kenyans, politicians, and stakeholders in this election who will be watching tonight to look at the 3 ladies and 1 gentleman and review their performance not only tonight's debate, but also previously. And I want the media to ask all these questions that they feel must be unpacked and must be answered by the deputy presidential candidates. Because it is only until then that we can actually get the raw information from the subject. Number 3, I am very happy again that Kenya Kwanza have agreed to present Honorable Rigathi Gachagua to appear before Kenyans and explain himself before the media and give the agenda that they have. We have done that with Nyandarua. The other team have done that with their deputy presidential candidate. So it is going to be a very exciting moment. But you know what brings it, even makes it more exciting? The 2 leading, and we know that because you told me these are done from opinion polls. Rigathi Gachagua and Martha Karua seems to be the leading ones. If you look at the headlines of the newspaper Nation today, it's revealing that those are the 2 faces that people expect to battle out. I do respect, with a lot of tremendous respect to the others, I respect them. But tonight, the focus will be on Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua. Why? They come from the same region again. And if you look at the succession politics, what we call political supremo, again, pundits will be at it and say, wait, how do we treat Mount Kenya or Central Kenya post Uhuru Kenyatta? Today, Uhuru Kenyatta is the supremo. But what happens post? Because one of the 2 will be the ultimate supremo post Uhuru Kenyatta. We hope that our Iron Lady, Madam Martha Wangari Karua, will tell Kenyans exactly what we have been telling them in the rallies, that this election is an election between those who believe that Kenyans must be liberated through economic revolution, looking at all sector, agriculture, energy, climate change, environment, and the rest, looking at social transformation, and looking at good governance. And those who believe in rhetorics and insults and despairing the government that they serve. We are in the right side of history. Martha Karua has been accused that, she was this person who was against the government. She walked out of this president. She was against BBI. Let me tell you, it is only a fool who doesn't change his or her mind. Martha Wangari Karua has teamed up with liberators. She has teamed up with people that they started the journey with. They are finishing the journey. When they tell us that freedom is coming, we are telling them freedom is here. Because on 9th August, when Kenyans will be waking up in the morning to go and cast their ballot, they'll remember for how long have they suffered. And they'll remember who is this person running and for how long have they been in government. You have been in government for 10 years. You never did what you were supposed to do. How do we trust you again with another 10 years and convince us that we're going to do this? It is not possible. It has never happened. And they say, wajinga waliisha Kenya hii. Wakati huu, agenda ni Azimio. Na mama na baba wako tayari.
All right, Mr. Director, just a second. Am I allowed to take a short break or we proceed? All right, we take a quick break and then we come back.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability.
You
You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling plastics to make pavers.
The brick is stronger, it's cheaper, and it's lighter.
And recycling wastewater in your household.
What happens to my waste from the washroom, the solid waste? All that can break down.
Those are just but a few. Every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. we talk construction.
There's no alpha without an omega. There's no lead without any followers. No man is an island. We need each other. We need this conference.
We say it, we do it, we act it.
Kama una mpenzi wako, kila siku kama nilivyosema, kila siku mwishi mapenzi.
We don't toe the line, we set the standard. We don't eat the grass, we lead the pack.
As an alpha male, you're also a leader. Not to just women, friends and family, but to everyone else you've never met before.
We are the beauty, the spice and the brains. The men's conference where men become alpha males.
And you can catch us every Wednesday
at the end of
at 10 p.m.
That is a reality today in Mulima. So this debate is not for us to second guess. We are watching the debate to cheer our own. It's not a decision. Maybe for Azimio, it's a full feel-good nature. Okay. You understand? But for us, we are representing the 55+ million Kenyans who are called hustlers, the hustler nation. For the first time in this country, the mama mboga. For the first time in this country, the boda boda. For the first time in this country, the jobless. For the first time in this country, the ones who are hopeless and the ones who cannot even access their 100 bob of unga will have their representative on the debate floor, and that is Rigathi Gachagua. On the other hand, the autocrat, what is known as the dynasties, the ones who have injured the economy for a very long time, will have their spokesperson there, and that is Mother Karua, a lady who stood against them a few months ago and called them out for their nature and call them out for why they were assaulting this constitution. And today she has lost her moral ground, but she's now the spokesperson of this autocracy that is injuring Kenyans consistently. So we know who we want, and we have no hatred as people of Mlima against Martha Karua, just that we know for 21 years that she has represented Geshogo, the only development that we see is a road that is leading to her home. I say that because I'm the neighbor. You know, at the end of the day, this is not any prejudice by any nature, but the vote is already locked.
Okay.
And that vote is already locked, and it says that 72% of the voter bloc will vote for William Samoei Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua.
Okay.
Why? Because the conversation that is on the ballot now is about socio-economic liberation, and Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga cannot buy Kenya back from its people with a 2 kg bag of flour. At the end of the day, we may be hungry, but we are not destitute or foolish to sell our birthright like a sow so that then they can rule us for life.
All right,
this
so
is the time for that small man to be able to be considered socio-economically, and now for that hustler to be called
let's be fair
as
to the
ruler
other
of
gentleman. And Wakili, he speaks of the mountain in terms of numbers. I do not know whether Azimio then would expect so much from the mountain, but then they say at least the little that they have gotten is good enough, and this courtesy as well of the coming in of Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua in both sides. Also a plus to the other gentleman, that is Wajakoya, as well as, you know, Wahiga Mwaore. And so when you look at this in terms of numbers, and especially the mountain, specific to this particular region, on a fair ground, without looking at the side that you align to, that still the support of Kenya Kwanza is intact at the mountain?
I think it is the support for Kenya Kwanza in Mount Kenya is largely intact. And I think the choice of Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua never changed much. What I would say is that the people of Mount Kenya have owned, as Dennis has said, we have owned William Ruto. We treat William Ruto as one of our own. And he speaks to our aspirations. He speaks to our issues better than anyone else. And therefore we have owned him, and the people of Mount Kenya will be giving him their votes directly to the man that is William Ruto. And he has added impetus to that ticket by getting us Rigathi Gachagua, another person who communicates in a very clear language to the people of Mount Kenya, a language they can understand. And
why is it that we, at least Intel tells us that for some reasons, many were for Kindiki Kithure as opposed to Rigathi Gachagua? What has really gotten into this space such that people now tend to speak so highly of Rigathi?
I think, you know, in politics there is a lot of rumors and innuendos. And I think as Dennis has said, Dennis has said, William Ruto is science unto himself. And we allowed him the room to pick for us his running mate. And
that was a nice pick.
Yes, and it was a nice pick, and we had assured him that whatever his pick, we would go by it.
Okay.
And all those guys, as he said during the announcement of Gachagua as his running mate, he was very clear on the credentials and attributes of Waigoro, attributes of Muturi, attributes of Kidiki, attribute of Aris, Didi Nyoro, and now Gachagua. And actually, any one of them can be and could have been a running mate. But I think Gachagua ranks first, and his admiration and his being very well grounded with the people, I think it was the best choice for us from Mount Kenya. Linda, you cannot imagine, when we talk about William Ruto has addressed all our issues, the milk issues, the potato issues, the rice issues, the coffee issues, the tea issues. It is not that we just love William Ruto. It is he speaks to our hearts. He speaks to our pockets. And he creates hope about a tomorrow. And the roadmap to a good and beautiful tomorrow for the people of Mount Kenya is very clearly caricatured in his messages to us. We have had Uhuru Kenyatta, who comes from Mount Kenya. He promised us potato processing plants in Nyandarua. We are yet to see them after 10 years. The water towers are in Nyandarua. He promised us the 3 mega dams to supply water in Nyandarua, and even for us to sell out there. There is nothing, even water pumps. And then the faces that Jubilee and Azimio are bringing in Mount Kenya. Like in Nyandarua, when you bring the face of Kigame, clearly you are making all the folks to run away from Azimio. So at the end of the day, we don't see Azimio as competitors. We are seeing them as people who are enjoying themselves in this ride, and they bow out from public service because they have caused us pain. They have caused us oppression, and they have killed any grit of hope that we had for a better tomorrow.
Okay, well, Fred, as we sum it up.
I really think that Kenyans have an opportunity to decide what is good from what is wrong. And that opportunity has presented itself to Kenyans in a very peculiar manner. In a manner that today, we have got 2 teams, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya and UDA. And for us, in Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, we have the agenda, we have the opportunity, and we have the commitment. We have tabled this to Kenyans, and we are asking Kenyans, this is not about war. We are not fighting, we are competing. And in our competition, we are saying that in this competition, there's one referee. And the referee has committed to administer this match in a free, fair, credible, transparent, accurate manner. We hope that on 9th of August, as we go to the polls, and after the polls, we shall emerge victorious because we have agenda that resonates with majority. The issues of Mount Kenya are many, just like the issues of Nyanza, the coastal region, the eastern. But guess what? The unity that we have seen and has manifested itself in Azimio is bringing everyone together, not to fight one individual, but there is strength in numbers. And we are saying that because we value the unity, because we value that every Kenyan must belong, because we value that every gender must belong, then Azimio la Umoja One Kenya is putting in place a firm plan and agenda that is going to sort all these messes. We want to say, our other competitors, they have said so many things. They have promised so many things. We have committed. Our commitment is our word, and we shall deliver. I want to ask the people of Kenya, give Azimio an opportunity. Give them a chance because they have a track record. Give them a chance because they have demonstrated all along. The ticket is a ticket that cannot be doubted. It's a ticket that can articulate issues. It's a ticket that can be trusted. If you want to know who you can vote for your leader, if you are a parent watching today, if you are a guardian, please look at the 2 teams. Who should you or who will you trust with your kid, your wife, your daughter, your son, your cousin for only 1 second when you're going to fetch water? If you know that answer, then vote for that person.
All right. Dennis is smiling. Dennis, yes.
You know, wow. You know, we come here and we speak as though Kenyans are not intelligent beings. And but I am glad that we live in a nation where all Kenyans have a realization to the truth, and they bear that truth within themselves. It's a light that nobody can take from us with a bag of flour. The truth is, at the end of the day, today, Azimio will use the debate as a catwalk. Today, the Azimio spokesperson, who is a spokesperson of impunity, will represent as a lawyer whoever who is impune in this nation. The barons, the autocrats, the kakistocrats, the perhaps, let me say, you know, in a lot of respect, the law. And the other one is that Rigathi Gachagua will stand for the majority of Kenyans who are poor, who are destitute, who have been injured by the administration that is moving around and funding the Azimio campaign, and will speak for those Kenyans and their aspirations, and will also speak to the barons and give them a warning that on the 9th of August, the fury of Kenyans will be represented on the ballot without any bloodshed whatsoever. And the truth is, Kenyans are angry today. Kenyans are angry that they are being duped with a bag of flour. And we want every financial relief to come to Kenyans, for your record, by the way. But we want it to be extended beyond the election period, so that it doesn't sit as the bribery, like the way MCAs were bribed by cars that never came. You know, Wakili here is the speaker of an assembly. He can tell you whether the cars were received or not. I'm possibly sure they weren't. But the truth
Are you talking
of the
about
fact,
the car grant?
The car, you know, no. The promise. You remember the BBI promise that you know we will give you cars and whatever.
Was it a promise really? Well, at least I have sat with a member of county assembly here who told me, who confessed. You are here. Yes, yes. Fred was here.
But even though they received, those guys are going on. But it was a fictitious promise. But let me tell you something. We have a clear dichotomy. One side that represents the barons, another side that represents Kenyans. Kenyans who today are walking, not knowing where they are going or what they are eating. And that is Rigathi Gachagua today, and headed by William Samoei Ruto.
Okay.
On the other hand are the cat walkers, the braggadocious, the guys who chest stamp, the guys who think that they can buy our birthright by a bag of flour at the end of the day, the guys who ate KEMSA money, the guys who have administrated every injunction towards righteousness and financial fidelity in this nation. The dichotomy is clear. Kenyans know where to cast their ballot, and that righteous fury will be demonstrated on the 9th of August. I want to give an immunity clause to my brother here. When Azimio finally falls on the 9th of August, I want to give you a reprieve that you can come into this Kenya Kwanza house.
In your capacity as who?
So that at the end of the day, that righteous fury
in your capacity
against
as
Kenyans. In my capacity, I have a capacity in Kenya Kwanza. I'm not just a small person. You understand at the end of the day. But I sit as a son. I sit as a son of this nation, who at the end of the day is not privileged. You understand? My family sat down and we said, we have to digress to a lower house at the end of the day. I sit as a person who's not privileged. You know, today, my respected father's name is known because the son, he shot the son into the national limelight. You know, but my father is a teacher who has never been paid his retirement benefits today. You can ask him, Dombe from Embo County. He has never been paid his retirement benefits by Uhuru Kenyatta. So we speak as Kenyans. Yes, they refuse to release that.
Let's allow
but
Wakili
I
say something.
see it as, despite a court order, they refuse. My father cannot afford his medicine. I have to work hard in Nairobi to send him money for medicine.
He's going to get this.
You understand
when
at the end of the day?
And
then that angers us. It angers us because they sit in dignified houses and they think that they can buy our birthright by a flour of Unga. I want to send my brother to his barons. And I want to tell them.
Polycarp, you know, time
let me
is
tell you
moving
something. Freedom is coming on the 9th of August. And I have given you an immunity. Come into our house so that fury does not destroy you. He's my brother. No, he's my brother. And I weep when I see that he's a spokesperson of that which is impugned.
Wakili.
Because it is good, because we are on national
you speak to the people of
we are on national tradition that I want to clarify as the president of the County Assemblies Forum. We confronted this government and told them that we are not children of lesser gods. We perform the same duties with the members of parliament, and therefore we deserved a car grant as a matter of right.
It had nothing to do with
not favor, and therefore the same was granted, and I can confirm that.
Okay, thank you.
Number two, I would want to say that we have suffered enough in this country, and Kenyans should start notified that they should not allow an extra day of this Azimio thing after 9th of August 2022. We have been there. As persons we have suffered. Dennis has talked about his father. I know a judgment that was delivered in the High Court in Nakuru about 10 years ago. The lawyer who was dealing with that matter, Mr. Kemata, is deceased. He never saw the fruits of his win in court, and teachers are still suffering. And we have money that by the COVID billionaires, we have money that was there to fund the BBI, but we cannot pay our teachers who have served this country diligently and who have made us who we are today, that I'm here in this station. These Azimio people, obviously with the active support of the president, they have told us even they are going to close our churches. Where we go and get reprieve when things become very difficult.
As they are a big church
as we are in this country, we are suffering every day. Our only refuge is the church, and they also want to close our refuge.
A church that takes sides?
Yes. No, they does not take sides.
Religion and
a church, let me tell you something.
We have to close, you know.
Okay, now.
1 minute.
Yeah, that's for sure.
To good leadership.
The church has interest to good leadership.
Yes.
All right.
The church has interest to economic liberation.
Yes.
1 minute, Fred.
These are guys, reader, to conclude, that they are telling us even second-hand clothing. This is what we wear, that they are even going to cross them. They don't understand what we go through. These are the people where they have the standards agencies in China, Japan, and everywhere, which assess our commodities that we are importing and give a clean bill of health. We import, when they reach Kenya, they are assessed again by their own agencies of this government. We pay taxes, and when we put these goods in our shelves, Matiang'i and his cable, they come and pick them and burn them. And let me say that we have gone through serious suffering. And now that President Uhuru is the chairman of the Azimio Council, the highest decision-making body in Azimio, out of 19 council members, Fred can only watch from outside. Out of 19 council members, which will be making decisions, Uhuru Kenyatta is controlling 13 of that council.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
The ODM has 3, the others have 2 each. Then you expect that we are cutting the rings between Raila and Uhuru Kenyatta. Kenyans should be worried about that one. And also for the people of Nyandarua, they have an option outside Kememia who can only sing praises to President Uhuru when all of us are dying. So they have a choice to get Ndegwa Wahome on the pedestal, and I'm going to drive that county to prosperity.
Ndegwa Wahome for governor under what party? Speak to them, vizuri.
Yes, I'm telling the people of Nyandarua that we have suffered under this presidency, under the governor that we have, the same president and the governor who crossed your assembly for 8 months. I stood firm with the people of Nyandarua, and I have an agenda. I have the right infrastructure. I'm going to drive Nyandarua to prosperity, and they will forget their suffering. There will be hope for their children.
Under what party?
Father, in the name of Jesus, help this man. We have
under what party will she be?
I'm under Chama cha Kazi. My running mate is in UDA. We are Kenya Kwanza. Our presidential candidate is William Ruto, and Ndegwa Wahome obviously is
Fred,
the best candidate for the people of Nyandarua.
Dennis is a very good friend of mine. He's come from very far. Speaker here is a very good friend of mine, even though he shut my bill those days. But he's a very good friend of mine. And from the bottom of my heart, I wish the speaker very well. I wish you well, and the people of Nyandarua will make a decision. To Dennis, who is you know, he says he has a bigger role that is waiting to redeem me. I also wish him well, but the roles will be reversed. Now, Kenya Kwanza are our competitors. They are worthy competitors. And Kenyans should know that in politics, there is no enmity. We argue our points, we debate on ideas, we disagree and agree to disagree. It would have been the wish of Kenya Kwanza that they lower the cost of unga from 210 to 100 after they win. But it is the wish of Kenyans that Raila lowers it before Raila wins.
So this is
we have done that. So for us, we ask Kenyans, as we go into this, let's be peaceful, let's campaign on the platform of peace, and we want to thank the media, because the media has been very consistent in highlighting some of the issues. But we also want to thank Kenyans for being very patient with politicians, us and many out there. Whatever we say, let it be our bond, let it be our heart, let it be our honor. We want to ask the people tonight that are going to watch, pick issues, and issues that you know are going to help you. Then build that towards election and make the right choice. But I want to promise also the Kenyans that this is going to be the curtain raiser for Azimio's presidential debate. Because what Martha is going to do tonight will be perfected, will be enhanced, will be re-emphasized by Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, who has an agenda and a gender.
Okay. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Secretary Political Affairs of Kanu, Fred Okango, thank you so much, and as well as Speaker Ndegwa Wahome, Governor candidate Nyandarua County, and lastly, governance expert, that is Dennis Nthumbi.
The hustlers will win on the 9th.
All the best. May the best man win. And I think the heavens should be able to know that.
And those Kenyans are hustlers.
Okay.
When hustlers win, Kenya wins.
All right.
Azimio win, we are one Kenya.
No, Azimio win, autocracy wins.
And we'll shake hands and tell them, welcome.
No, we don't want shaking
hands.
That's why
you're not going to extend that to them, by the way.
No wonder you're disputing.
Let me tell you, Raila Odinga said if he loses fairly, he will accept, and he has said it. William Ruto has not told us what he will do. In fact, let me tell you, Ruto petition 2022 is coming. But you know what? We welcome them because we are one Kenya. Azimio means the desire of unity, and we welcome Ruto. In fact, we would want him to even support the government of the day more. Let him
and then again, we're not going to have
and also let him criticize constructively. No.
Linda,
he can be opposition if you want.
Linda,
right.
We are not going to allow Fred to violate the emotions and the psyche of Kenyans by telling us that we will go through this nightmare further. Raila retires on the 9th of August, permanently, squarely, and fairly. At the end of the day, William Samoei
Ruto goes home with Uru.
What is keeping Ruto awake now is the amount of work he has post 9th of August as the president of the Republic of Kenya. How to lower high cost of living, which that plan is articulated already. He knows everything that he's going to do, and one of the things that we are asking hustlers is liberate this country from prejudice, from colonialists who are now even controlling our food. The next thing they will they will take over even our toilets.
Wakili.
They will tell us even we cannot, you cannot go to the toilet or anything of the sort.
In the future of this country, even beyond our eyes, we will not expect another handshake. A handshake that has caused momentous, massive divisions in this country.
There's no point of extending a
hand. Okango talking about a handshake is very unfair.
So that I make myself clear.
Okango, let me tell you.
African tradition requires that when you defeat me fairly, or when we agree that this is how we are going to implement this, we shake and say it was nice. That's what I meant. We are not welcoming them. They have no right to play. We are just telling them
the government is smart.
William
and you have conceded.
Will be the president of Raila Odinga.
And you know,
and you had better,
it's okay. But you see, those are dreams.
No, it's not
those
a
are
dream,
dreams.
it's a reality.
Those are dreams.
Are you saying that because Uhuru Kenyatta said that he will, he prefers Raila Odinga, that it is a dream for the son of a peasant in this country?
Let's not campaign. Let's not turn this to a campaign.
is not competing against Raila.
No.
William
that
Ruto,
impunity must
William Ruto is not competing against Ruto. William Ruto must face Raila squarely. He must stop hiding behind the room. We want William Ruto to face Raila squarely and face it off with Kenyans.
Thank you so
much. The decision is made by Kenyans.
Will take the